Hi guys, this is Mobile Network Comparison here, and today we're going to be comparing the Lenovo A850 with the 2-year-old Samsung Galaxy S2 in a full benchmark test to see which one performs the best. So starting off, let's have a look at what the Lenovo has to offer. Well, it comes with this MediaTek Chinese-made MT6582 chipset, and this chipset is quite common in Chinese phones. This one comes with a 1.3 gig quad-core Cortex A7 processor, as well as a PowerVR SGX 544 GPU. It's got 1 GB of RAM, and it's running a huge 5.5-inch 960 by 540 LCD display. What about the S2? Well, this is a much older phone, but it's also got some pretty impressive specs. So, starting off, it's actually running an Exynos dual-core chipset, and that's got two 1.2 GHz dual Cortex A9 processors embedded in it. Its GPU is made by Cambridge-based ARM. It's a Mali 400. It's also got 1 GB of RAM, and it's running a much smaller 4.3-inch screen, but the resolution's about the same, 480 by 800 pixels. So let's get started with these benchmarks and see what the phones perform like running side by side. So here I've got on the left the Lenovo A850, and on the right the Samsung Galaxy S2. And we're just going to let this Antutu benchmark run through its various tests to see how they perform. Now, it's not very clear from the footage here, but with that 5.5-inch screen, the Lenovo is much bigger than the Samsung. It completely dwarfs it in size and also in weight. I mean, it completely fills my hand, and it comes in at 184 grams compared to just 116 grams for the Samsung Galaxy S2. So you can see that's, we're looking at more than 50% additional weight on the Lenovo, but the screen is that much bigger. The one thing we're quite disappointed with upon first impressions about the A850 is, despite having that massive 5.5-inch screen, the resolution is pretty low. In fact, it's marginally better resolution than the Galaxy S2. It's only got a few more pixels. So it's actually only running at 960 by 540 resolution, and that puts it with a pixel density of just about 200 pixels per inch. So that's actually a lower pixel density than the 2-year-old Galaxy S2, which is running at about 218. So it's a little bit disappointing for a new phone released only a few months ago in 2013. But despite this, it's got pretty impressive specs elsewhere. So what else can we tell you about the Lenovo A850? Well, it's running 4.2.2 Jelly Bean, that version of Android, which is pretty impressive. But again, even though it's not an official update, the Samsung, if you go to install a custom ROM, and I'll put a quick link up on the screen now how to do this, because we've written a really in-depth tutorial video that explains everything you have to do step by step, from installing the drivers to flashing the ROM and setting everything up. If you install a custom ROM such as CyanogenMod on the Galaxy S2, you can actually get it running 4.3.1 Jelly Bean, a more up-to-date version of Android, even though when it first originally shipped back in May 2011, it was only running version 2.3 Gingerbread. So we're getting towards the end of the tests now, and you can see the A850 is running slightly ahead. I mean, it's quite expected. It's much newer hardware. It's got a quad-core, faster processor compared to the dual-core 1.2 gig in the Galaxy S2. So we're going to expect it to be doing pretty much better at everything. I mean, the graphical performance, you can see, is a little bit better, and it's definitely, with the quad-core, it's going to be doing so much better at things like multitasking and just general day-to-day use. So it's kind of hard to see the numbers here, but I think you can tell that the Lenovo is doing slightly better in this 3D graphics test. I mean, again, it hasn't got that powerful screen to actually power, but it's still much newer hardware, a much newer phone, and you would expect it to be performing much better in these tests. So what are we actually getting? So the Lenovo's got a score of 16,853. That's pretty impressive for the price you're paying for that. And the much older Samsung Galaxy S2 is getting a much weaker score, only about 10,000. So that's the benchmark tests comparison between these two phones. I mean, they're obviously very different devices, and one's much older than the other one, but hopefully this gives you a better idea of how they compare to each other, because they're not too dissimilar in price. Anyway, thanks for watching. We've been Mobile Network Comparison, and check out the rest of our videos. Bye!